Heads up, tomorrow at sunrise, there is a rare solar eclipse. Don't stare at it with your naked eye, but here's where you can see it. Off of the east coast at sunrise, from Miami, Cape Canaveral, Jacksonville, Charleston. It's almost like 3/4, but it does do a path of total solar eclipse further out by Bermuda, I guess, somewhere in there. So, heads up on that. I'm attaching this to the show. So, if you get up right at sunrise, the sun's going to be eclipsing this morning. Live, this is One for the Record. I'm Diana, and today is November 2nd, 2013. And here are your news updates for today. Again, there's a solar eclipse this morning. So, heads up on that. Going into November 3rd, when you wake up, don't stare at the sun, but it is eclipsing already then. And I guess if you're on the East Coast, it's going to be like 3/4 of an eclipse. And the further east you go, like heading towards Bermuda and in that direction, it's going to be a total eclipse. So heads up, but don't stare at it with your own eyes. Alright, you gotta use protective gear. Alrighty then. Moving on. Let's see what we got going on here. Alright. The Watchers watching the world. New flyover video of red planet's surface. Wow. More flaring activity from central region of the sun. M6.4 earthquake occurred near Neiafu, Tonga. Alrighty. Impulsive solar flare reaching M6.3 erupted from central region of the sun. Alright, moving on. Hearing noises. Alright, moving on. Alright, tropical storm watch issued for mainland Mexico due to tropical depression. That was earlier today, on November 2nd, like almost 8 hours ago. Also, magnitude 5.0 earthquake hit south of Falls Pass, Alaska, coming out of USGS 6 hours ago. Tropical Depression 18E expected to pass near the southern tip of Baja California Peninsula on Sunday night. That was 5 hours ago. Coming out of NHC Pacific. What else we got going on? 91,000 people without power in Seattle due to approximately 1,000 different outages after severe winds. Two planes reportedly collide near Superior, Wisconsin, while flying in formation for skydiving jump. Ten people killed after being run over by a train in Viziagram in Andhra Pradesh, India. Coming out of AP. One person reportedly shot at North Carolina A&T State University campus on lockdown. This came out of Joel Brown, ABC 11, 1 hour ago. Heads up. Still more information on that. Okay. 750 seconds ago. Wow. Magnitude 4.5 earthquake hits southwest of Hualien, Taiwan. Coming out of USGS. 4.8 earthquake hits south of Qian, China. 26:51 seconds ago. What is that about? Seconds ago. 26:31 seconds ago. Guess it just happened. Maybe it's 0.2631 seconds, because I don't see why they wouldn't put a minute. Wow. Okay, moving on. Let's see what else is going on. E&E News. Fukushima, Japan. Alright, today. Top scientist, Fukushima is the most terrifying situation I can imagine. I've seen a paper which says it's a bye-bye Japan, and to evacuate North America's west coast if Unit 4 goes after quake and rods are exposed. Isn't all that happening right now? It's been like that, though? Also, today, study on IAEA website, core meltdown risk now around 1,000% higher because of Fukushima. Engineer, nuclear disaster a certainty over next 30 years in Europe. Lawmaker warns Emperor of reality facing Japan. Children are suffering from health problems. Another official reveals the incidence of cancer in children has been increasing and is heckled. Alright, let's go into, let's get rid of this. U.S., Canada. Seattle TV. Warning, video of the melting sea stars might be disturbing. Scientists are so concerned about rapidly spreading die-off on West Coast, doubled in just a few days. Jellyfish numbers booming. Also, today, NBC News. Grizzly disease decimating starfish populations from Orange County to Alaska. Doesn't that sound like it would be the radiation? From Orange County to Alaska. Scientists alarm as they begin eating each other, then melting away. Similar problem on East Coast observed since 2011, now spreading at scary rate. I will try to get the video. I can't get the video. Shocking treatment of U.S. nuclear whistleblower sent to office in basement with rat poison after warning of Fukushima-like explosion. Another given an office and storage room with drums of radioactive waste and asbestos soon after having chemotherapy. Oh, I tried to see a video on that one. I couldn't find that. Wow. Alrighty then, stay safe. Let's get rid of that. Oh, let's check the inbox. Let's do a shout out. Shout out to Mr. AAC 2020. Heads up. Mr. ARC 2020. Alright, Observant Owl. Is I going to die? No, I don't think so. A heads up, shout out to Observant Owl. 2 words. Create Harmony. All 1 word. These are all people's channels. Mama Fawn. F-A-W-N. All 1 word. Unplugged Smith. 2 words. Unplugged Smith. That's like from the Matrix. That's cool. Wes Thompson. W-E-S-T-H-M-P-S-N. Heads up. Cool name. Joe Bone. 2 words. J-O-E-B-O-N-E. Azian Sama King X. Wow. Heads up. Shout out to you. Daniel Kleinmeyer. Natalie Austin. Those are 2 words. Creative Harmony again. Francisco Speicher. Nibiru Planet X. Good name. Slogo Mary. Heads up. Shout out to you guys. Thanks for commenting or watching. Alrighty then. Get rid of that. So, it is one day down of the weekend. We still have another day to go. Stay safe. Please prepare for anything. If you have important phone numbers in your phone, write them on a paper. Copy everything. Don't forget to add your text messages like information, 411s, whatever that you need. Make sure you write all this down, just in case the power goes out. Alright, or your phone gets dropped in the toilet or something. You need to have a hard copy on hand. You do that this weekend. Alrighty? That's very important for you to do. Also, hopefully you're starting to watch all these YouTube videos on fishing, hunting, growing plants, growing food. If you have plants, they better be edible. If not, they're useless for right now. Alright? Start getting self-sufficient in case something. Make sure you have candles. But if you have pets, make sure the candles aren't going to be lit anywhere by the pets. That's like they're in some kind of protectiveness. Not just sitting on a plate, blazing away where the pet can knock it over and start a fire. Alright? Make sure you have candles. Make sure you have the little lights that are solar, that people usually stick in their front yard. Get those solar lights, especially if they have some cheap ones over at Walmart. Sometimes they're only $1 because they're left over from the 4th of July or something. Make sure you have those. Don't stick them in the ground outside. See if you can find like a nice vase or a glass that's tall enough that you just stick them into the glass. And that way, and have them directed towards the window where they're charging. Got what I'm saying? Not where pets can knock them over and stuff like that. But I'm just saying where you can use those as like portable flashlights if need be. Because usually those things will stay on for hours. And it's renewable energy. You don't have to hunt for batteries and weird stuff. It's right there. The power goes off. Boom, all the lights go on. You see what I'm saying? Get some solar stuff. The cheap kind. If you can't afford anything more expensive. And also they have the ones that can charge, the ones that that are for boats. I used to see other boaters. I didn't have one. I thought it was cool though. They have these things that look like the size of an Etch-a-Sketch, if you remember those things. And they would put them out in the sun, and they'd have a plug-in on the other side. You could plug in whatever you needed to do, like a TV, a fan. You can get those in the sporting good stores. So you have something that will just light up enough, so you have some kind of light going on. Alrighty then, take care. Start getting prepared for anything, and I'll see you tomorrow on the flip side. Make a list. Make a list. Alrighty then, and then go check everything off on the list that you have a ways. Power goes out, or you're forced to stay inside. Get a deck of cards. Get a deck of cards. You won't have your laptop, maybe. You won't have the laptop going to play your solitaire. You might want to get a couple decks of cards, a few board games, some checkers, maybe some chess. Stuff that you can do manually, that you don't depend on electricity for in case of a power outage. Alrighty then. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow on the flip side.
He says his government and American companies are ready to help Japan with the removal of radioactive tritium from cooling water. Ernest Moniz spoke to NHK one day after visiting the crippled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear facility.
This was my first trip to Fukushima, and it left certainly quite an impression. One of the impressions was that 2.5 years after the tragedy, that one still sees the very, very clearly the power of the tsunami and all the damage that it did.
Modi said he realizes it's a big challenge to process contaminated water stored at the plant. Tokyo Electric Power Company has been able to remove most of the radioactive materials. The one exception is hard-to-filter tritium, which emits beta rays with comparatively weaker energy.
Tritium, for example, is a more difficult challenge, and that's a place where we at the Department of Energy, but also our industry, has experience.
Japan's industry ministry is considering disposal solutions submitted by domestic and international companies. Modi said he is ready to help the Japanese government get a concrete result.
A team from the International Atomic Energy Agency will soon visit the damaged nuclear power plant in northeastern Japan. The experts will investigate the leaking of contaminated water from storage tanks and moves to decommission the plant. IAEA Director General Yukiya Amano told reporters in Washington that the team will be dispatched at the end of November.
We are planning to send our peer review missions in autumn. That is the IAEA mission on decommissioning, and it covers the contaminated water issues.
Amano says Japan needs to cooperate with international organizations in addressing the nuclear crisis in order to regain the trust of the global community. He said the team will include seawater analysts. Amano says he believes that the visit may ease concerns of Japan's neighbors in other countries about the dangers of the radioactive water leaks.
One day some twisted son of a bitch is bound to teach you a thing or two about living in this cold, godforsaken world.
Here's the finance minister, Taro Aso. Remember, everybody's an Aso.
Who can forget Taro Aso? The biggest Aso in Japan. Who can forget him? He's the finance minister, right?
Yes.
What an Aso that Aso is.
Well, he's in this headline. Let elderly people, quote, hurry up and die, says Japanese minister. Taro Aso says he would refuse end-of-life care and would feel bad knowing treatment was paid for by the government.
The Japanese government has indicated its willingness to consider providing funds for cleaning up the aftermath of the Fukushima nuclear disaster. This came in response to a call by the ruling Liberal Democratic Party for a greater government role in the efforts. LDP officials have made the proposal as Tokyo Electric Power Company struggles to contain tainted water leaks at its crippled plant. Scrapping the damaged reactors is also a tough challenge, requiring huge costs and time. At present, the utility is required to pay the decontamination costs the government has covered, but the ruling party proposed that the state should consider financing additional decontamination efforts as a public works project. Finance Minister Taro Aso said the cabinet will discuss the proposal.
I respect the proposal by the LDP panel, and the government will carefully study it.
Aso said the government will also study the possible use of public funds for construction and management of storage facilities for the contaminated soil.
That don't make no sense!
I focus in on what they done and what's there and what's coming out. Like that 41 miles of open pit of yellow cake, a Dixie cup of this stuff will kill everybody in a restaurant inside of an hour. The mount that's on the leg of a fruit fly has evacuated Hanford 20 acres of it. Think about that one. A fruit fly had flown into the cafeteria and all the detectors went off and they found the fruit fly and it turned out it was his leg. So it shows you how dangerous this radiation is. On top of that, and they had to go around and decontaminate everything it landed on, or take it away is what I mean by decontamination. Like most of Fukushima should be dug up, all the buildings should be torn down. Extraordinary. You think taking asbestos down is dangerous? Wait till you get a load of this stuff. The protocol is the international protocol for this kind of environmental catastrophe. Is you have to take down all the structures, which is all the buildings, all the apartments, all the topsoil, all the trees. Everything has to go onto a nuclear waste site and be sarcophagated. making up words for us, till the end of time. Not burnt, not liberating those isotopes back into the environment, which is the epitome of stupid. The studies have shown that this doesn't sink. So yeah, I mean, there's 1,300 isotopes. You can pick and choose what you want, okay? But the really deadly ones, they don't sink. The ones we're scared, the one we're frightened of, they don't sink. In fact, the peer-reviewed academic journals that are well known out there in the community and that are showing that this gathers up at the surface. And because a lot of the tuna and everything else are surface feeders, and the whales and all this, and the dolphins, they're the ones that are showing, you'll start seeing that show up because the plankton depends upon the sunlight at the surface. And like I can explain that in another way, you know, the starfish, the reason the starfish we're seeing that effect is because this stuff gets washed back into the ocean, right? It drifts over, lands on the shorelines and everything else. The ocean is full of it. But what I'm saying is, kind of gets recycled at the shoreline over and over and over and over. And these particles get, you know, spread that way more and more and more. It's one thing as it comes over in the plume. It's another thing when it slams into the coastline and becomes aerosoled. And then the rain keeps washing this stuff back. And right? So it's a never-ending cascade on the coastline itself. That's why it's so important.
can even teach other bacteria how to be resistant to little enzyme that's biding its time.
Japan's Crown Prince and Princess traveled to the disaster-hit region of Iwate Prefecture and offered encouragement to local residents. Their two-day tour came on the back of visits to disaster-stricken areas in August and September. Crown Prince Naruhito and Crown Princess Masako visited the coastal city of Kamaishi on Saturday. The area was devastated by the 2011 earthquake and tsunami. It is home to the largest temporary housing complex in the city, where more than 450 evacuees still reside. The Crown Prince asked an 86-year-old woman whether she interacts with other residents and about her health as the weather gets colder. The Crown Princess engaged in conversation with an 81-year-old woman, praising the colorful autumn leaves in the surrounding hills. She urged the woman to take care of herself.
I feel I have to be cheerful when I think Crown Prince and Crown Princess care about us.
An expert explained how the housing complex was designed to help promote exchanges among residents so that elderly people would not feel isolated.
Everyone secretly suspected you would never watch this entire web video, but by God, you showed.
And what's coming out, like that 41 miles of open pit of yellow cake, a Dixie cup of this stuff, will kill everybody in a restaurant inside of an hour. The mount that's on the leg of a fruit fly has evacuated hand for 20 acres of it. Think about that one. A fruit fly had flown into the cafeteria, and all the detectors went off, and they found the fruit fly, and it turned out it was his leg. So it shows you how dangerous this radiation is. On top of that, and they had to go around and decontaminate everything it landed on, or take it away, is what I mean by decontamination. Like most of Fukushima should be dug up, all the buildings should be torn down. Extraordinary. You think taking asbestos down is dangerous. Wait till you get a load of this stuff. The protocol is the international protocol for this kind of environmental catastrophe is you have to take down all the structures, which is all the buildings, all the apartments, all the